Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal have now completed 2 deals this summer, and a third deal is in the pipeline. We're working on a new centre forward. Victor Gyokerez expects us to bid next week and is convinced that a deal can be agreed between Sporting and Arsenal. Shall also talk about Thomas Partey. Arsenal are looking at Warren Zaïre-Emery as one of the options to replace Partey, who has now refused lower wages at the club. Arsenal also in the hunt for a new left back stroke centre back, and Gerard Hato is one of those. Arsenal are talking to Ajax to see if a deal can be agreed. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Arsenal, 2 deals done. A third one is going to be a centre forward, that is for sure. And next week is going to be a very, very big week for Mikel Arteta and Andrea Bata. But let's start off with that big story on Martin Zubimendi that was broken today by David Onstein. If you've not seen it, Martin Zubimendi is already in London trying to get his deal done for Arsenal, and medical should be done in the next 48 to 72 hours. Paperwork is already aligned, already signed, and if everything goes well, he should be able to sign his contract and be announced as a new Arsenal player. Now, this is what Charles Words has said today, and I told you 48 hours ago that Zubimendi is 100% a replacement for Thomas Partey. So this is what Charles Words has said today. He has said that according to his sources, Martin Zubimendi comes in to replace Thomas Partey, who doesn't want lower wages at Arsenal. And he says at the moment, it is not 100% true, like sources in Turkey are saying, that Thomas Partey has refused Arsenal's offer. But he wants Arsenal to improve their offer. Arsenal are not willing to improve their offer at the moment, as they look at Thomas Partey as just a bench player. Now, Martin Zubimendi has been signed to replace Thomas Partey, and that means naturally Partey replaces Jorginho in the squad. Now, Arsenal saying we're not giving you big wages if you're just a bench player, and that is what is annoying the management of Thomas Partey. So there is a possibility, I'm just saying, there is a possibility that Martin Zubimendi puts on the shirt number 5. We know that he's a big fan of that shirt number. He puts on 18 for Spain. He puts on 5 for Real Sociedad. And I'm just saying, if Partey leaves, there is a big possibility that Martin Zubimendi gets that shirt number 5. But of course, I want your thoughts. I want your opinions. Today we are confirming the signing of Zubimendi, but also kind of confirming the departure of Thomas Partey. I would never ever dare compare these two players, the impact that Thomas Partey has had on this team. Ever since we lost Alexander Song belonged to Barcelona, Arsenal have never had a player that has come close to the impact that Song had on this team. And it has only been Thomas Partey that has been able to give us that kind of quality, I would say. If you think about the last DMs that we have had at the team, Francis Coquelin, not really that good. Flamini came back. I don't mean Flamini wasn't that good, but the best days of Flamini were actually behind him. And then Granit Xhaka was signed. He wasn't really a number 6. He struggled kind of. We also brought in Torreira. Not a bad fit, but I don't think Torreira really gave us the Alexander Song belong. So if you look at Arsenal's DM in the last 10 years or 15 years, it is Song and Partey. Those are the 2 players that have actually given us enough quality for us to believe that we have actually a DM. So can Martin Zubimendi come and do that for us? Maybe he can. Let's give him a chance. He's such a young player. He's just 26. He comes in, lots of experience under his belt from Real Sociedad and Spain as well. It's a good deal, right? It's a very good deal. Let's see how this one unfolds. Now, the second deal that the Athletic are reporting about is Kepa Arrizabalaga. Now, this one is a deal that has been reported by The Guardian as well. Arsenal consider this one a done deal as well. Just a few things to be ironed out with Chelsea in order for Arsenal to meet the release clause, which is 5 million. But everyone at the club, Bata, Mikel Arteta, Tim Lewis, and the others, agree internally that this is the best deal Arsenal can get on a second choice goalkeeper. And externally, I approve this deal. It's a very, very good deal for an experienced goalkeeper that is Spanish, which means he speaks the same language as David Raya, and also a goalkeeper that has played in the Premier League, in the UEFA Champions League, very good at penalties. you want your goalkeeper to be training with that kind of quality. And so Kepa is the second deal Arsenal are doing. Andre Bata, proposed this deal basically, and he said that if you want to go out there and get a second choice goalkeeper for less money, Kepa is one of the deals. And Arsenal, you've got to give us a round of applause. This has been very, very good scouting, very, very good transfer business by Arsenal. If you consider him a Chelsea reject, like I said, think about what Arsenal are getting. He's not going to be a starter, first and foremost, but even if he started, right, even if Raya picked up an injury, how many teams have their second choice goalkeeper as good as Kepa? So if Arsenal have Kepa and Manchester City have Ortega, in my opinion, I don't know if I'm right, but I think Kepa is better than Ortega, honestly, because Kepa has been a first choice goalkeeper at Bournemouth for a very long time, for a whole season. He was a first choice goalkeeper at Chelsea. And this is a talent that cost 75 million at some point in time. So he is a good goalkeeper. Maybe his career isn't, decorated like we would want, but he's a very good goalkeeper. I don't think there's so many other clubs out there that have two very good goalkeepers. Maybe Liverpool with Alisson and Mamardashvili. Mamardashvili is such a talent. Yeah, I think, honestly. And maybe Newcastle, if they signed Trafford, and they have Nick Pope and Trafford. But apart from that, there are not so many goalkeepers, there are not so many teams that have two goalkeepers backing each other. So those two deals are done. And for Mikel Arteta, they're actually very important deals because we've been told that he considers a second choice goalkeeper a very important part of the team. He really loves the psychology behind players pushing each other. And that's why I ask myself a question. Why does Mikel Arteta not rotate players well? Because he loves the fight, he loves the competition, he loves players pushing each other. But when it comes to rotating them, when it comes to giving them equal minutes, he actually doesn't do it. What we see is a certain portion of players playing like 38 games in a campaign, and then the others playing about 2, 12. If you can balance the minutes, give Kepa a few minutes and then give Raya a lot of minutes, maybe give Kivio a few minutes and then give Gabriel and Saliba a lot of minutes, that is going to help. But the Kepa deal is important to David Raya. He's been the best goalkeeper in the Premier League for 2 years consecutively. Psychologically, that makes him comfortable. So he needs a guy that is going to come in to show him, if you don't push harder, if you don't be better than you are already, I can actually take your spot. And of course, the Martin Zubimendi deal becomes more important at the moment because of the Thomas Partey news. If Partey is truly leaving, that means Arsenal are losing the DM they've been training with, we've been going to matches with for the last 5 years, right? So we're playing with a new DM in a season where we begin with Manchester United, City, Liverpool, and Newcastle. You're going to need a lot of time with that guy in order for him to understand Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, the movement of Saka, the movement of Martinelli. And these players are also going to need a lot of time to understand Martin Zubimendi because there are very big differences between these two players at DM. Zubimendi is a natural dribbler. He's a natural gifter. He's gifted as a player, and he's closer to Sergio Busquets and Toni Kroos than Thomas Partey. Partey, in my opinion, is closer to Vieira. He's closer to Moises Caicedo, that kind of player. Defensively astute, but when you look at his passes, they either go backwards or they just go into Saka. I think Zubimendi is different, and we're going to need to, I think, adapt to his game, but he's also going to need to adapt to our game. We have heavy dribblers in the team, the likes of Saka, the likes of Declan Rice. But those are two important deals for Mikel Arteta. There is a third coming as well. And the third deal is our priority. Funny how Arsenal are signing their priority of the summer as the third deal. And that is a centre forward. So news coming out from Record Portugal in Portugal says that Victor Gyokerez is waiting for Arsenal, and he can't believe Arsenal are going to make a bid for the player in the coming week. So that is where we are. Again, Benjamin Sesko, it is quiet. Arsenal are not willing to pay 80 million euros to 100 million euros. That much we know. And we've also been told the player wants a release clause in his contract. Arsenal are not willing to do that. So does that mean that Arsenal are just going to go and do the Gyokerez deal? Are we going to renegotiate again with Leipzig and maybe with Benjamin Sesko? That could happen in the coming week. But with Victor Gyokerez, this is what we know. The player is convinced that if Sporting actually honor the agreement he has with them, which is you will sell me this summer, for 60 to 70 million euros, then a deal can be done. I think Sporting will honor the agreement they have with Victor Gyokerez, because about 5 days ago, the president of Sporting came out and said, we know this is Portugal, you're not going to sell a player who is 27 years of age at 100 million euros. So that tells you everything you need to know about the price and what Sporting think they are going to get from the sale of Victor Gyokerez. So next week is going to be very crucial. Arsenal are working on a centre forward. It's going to be our third signing of the summer. And from there, I think deals are going to start flowing. We shall go into a centre back. We shall walk into the realm of signing maybe another midfielder. We're talking about a couple of options to replace Thomas Partey and a few other deals. But Thomas Partey, we've got an update today, and that is from Charles Watts. He just confirmed that Thomas Partey is not lowering his demands on the wages. Arsenal want to give him a bit of reduced wages, but he's not lowering to that. He's not actually accepting that offer, and is now in contact with other clubs, including FC Barca. Now, Barca, one of the clubs that wanted to take Partey in January, and then, of course, a deal didn't happen. They also came back trying to talk into him to sign for them on a free, but he was convinced that Arsenal would give him a good deal, and maybe he would stay, and maybe something would actually be worked out. So Barca is one of the teams. We know they have a financial predicament going on. If they can get Partey to sign for them on kind of a free, that's a very good deal. It's just 30, 31. He can, be a baller for them in that midfield. Maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. He's a great option. He might actually go there. But Arsenal are looking at options. We're looking at other options. Yesterday, we talked about Lucien Agume at Sevilla. Very interesting talent, very interesting player. He's a replacement for Partey, like for like. And a few people are saying Arsenal really want to bring in a player that is like Thomas Partey. Because we don't have Albert Semelokonga, who has signed as an understudy to Partey, Arsenal would want to go out there and sign a player who is like for like Thomas Partey. Lucien Agume is that player, but then there is also talk of Carlos Baleba. But why I don't buy into this Carlos Baleba talk, I think Brighton are going to ask for 80 million or 70 million or 90 million for Carlos Baleba. Interesting talent, very good player. But if you signed Martin Zubimendi and you signed Carlos Baleba, wonderful summer, brilliant signings. The question is why? Why would you go out there and do these deals at the same time? I wouldn't see any reason as to why Arsenal should do that. In my opinion, we don't need to replace our Partey like for like with Declan Rice already in the team. If you have Martin Zubimendi, actually you need a player who's closer to Martin Zubimendi than close to Thomas Partey. And that is where Warren Zaïre-Emery comes into the picture. Now, Arsenal could also decide to bring in a player who is completely different to Thomas Partey, completely different to Martin Zubimendi, but a player who has something that Arsenal do not have. We are asking for creativity. We are crying out for creativity. A player can create chances. A player can score goals as well. Odegaard needs help. Odegaard needs a player that can literally compete with him, first and foremost. But also, if Odegaard is not available, like we saw last season, picks up an injury, can we get a player that can come and replace Odegaard like for like in terms of creativity, in terms of directness, in terms of expectation, and what the fans really want in terms of such a creative midfielder? That is where Warren Zaïre-Emery comes in. There is also another option in Morgan Gibbs-White and Morgan Rogers. Those are three players that actually point to the fact that the creativity problems at the club, Arsenal have noticed, right? Remember, we're linked with Florian Wirtz, and I remember saying that Arsenal are linked to Florian Wirtz. It is not by mistake. It means the manager is aware of the problems we have at as a side in terms of creating chances, and maybe he wants to work on them. Whether we shall have the budget, whether we'll have the money, that's another question. But for me, Morgan Rogers, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Warren Zaïre-Emery point to the fact that Arsenal would love to sign a number 10, especially in the summer where we're signing a number 9 as well. Now, of course, PSG don't want to sell Warren Zaïre-Emery. Maybe 60 million, maybe 70 million would convince them. I don't know. They're trying to do a couple of deals. Ilya Zabani from Bournemouth and maybe some others. Would they be tempted into selling Warren Zaïre-Emery? Maybe if the player pushes for a move. Gyokerez is one other that I like in that kind of regard. If you're not replacing Partey, you're not bringing in a player who's going to go straight for stride with Martin Zubimendi. Gyokerez is a player that I personally would like. And finally, Arsenal are in serious talks with Ajax to understand the situation of Jorah Hato. Now, Mikel Arteta wants Jorah Hato as a left back. I mean, that tells you everything you need about Mikel Arteta. He's signing another centre back and he's signing another left back for a third successive time. I think summer, Zinchenko, as far as I remember, and then Calafiori, and then this could be Jorah Hato. But I think the difference that Jorah Hato has with Ricardo Calafiori, I think Jorah Hato is a generational talent, to be honest, right? There's so many generational talents out there. I think Jorah Hato is one of them. If Arsenal could get their hands on him, he's such a good player. And it's one of those options that could allow Mikel Arteta play Miles Lewis-Kelly into midfield. We know that he's a central midfielder. We know that he loves to play at DM. Maybe signing Jorah Hato, playing him at left back, Julian Timber at right back, would give us the option of playing a player like Lewis-Kelly into midfield. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Lots of stories coming up, and I'll keep you posted.